Don't you agree? I think that offcut makes a nice piece of artwork. So let's get going. Hello there and welcome to day 2 of my build for the Use What You've Got challenge. Now today I'm going to be starting to sort out this neck. If you remember in the last video I created this compound neck with featheredge and an Arris rail. So I'm going to see if I can start to shape it a little bit. I've got this big chunk of featheredge which I'm going to hopefully turn into a fretboard, and then think about how I might stain that or oxidize it or something, ebonize it or whatever I can do with it to turn it darker. And I've also found these pieces of silver birch. Now these were cut quite a few years ago, so they've really dried out, but I think I can make a headstock out of these, so that's what I'm going to attempt to do. So I'm going to get on. I'm going to start by seeing if I can cut out a piece for a fretboard. Now this is a standard fretboard that I've got, and I'm just been looking at this to see if I can fit it in between the knots and between any splits. There's a bit of a split there, there's a big knot there. Now then, we get a neck. So here's a guitar neck, and we see that I don't need to go that far down. So if I go across there, I just miss that knot there, and yeah, I think that's going to do it. I usually start off by cutting fretboards to 60mm wide, but I've just noticed that there's this big knot on the back there, so I'm going to go for 70 and just hope that I can slot it in the middle somewhere. I also need to flatten this off a bit, so what I'll do, I'm going to set this to 7mm. Actually I could go a little bit wider because the feather edge is a bit wider there, so let's go for a 9mm. That's an interesting piece of wood, although I don't know how it works with a big knot in the fretboard, but yeah, perhaps we can work around that. It's a nice wobbly grain in there. Very nice. I'm going to trim this neck down to 30mm deep, and then see if we can tidy it all up on the thicknesser. I had trouble before because it was tearing out the Arris rail, which is quite a soft wood, so I might need to hand plane it, but if I do 30mm it should give me plenty of room. Now then, this has come out reasonably well. I've got a nice flat top there and a reasonably flat bottom. There's a bit of tear out just there, but obviously I'm going to be shaping this. It's obviously very light. It's I'm not sure how this is going to hold up, but yeah, it doesn't look too bad. And we've got the fretboard, which I think I'm going to stain dark, but yeah. So those two are done. Now I think I'm going to move on to the headstock. Now I found this wood. So this is from a silver birch tree cut down a long while ago, and I've left it to dry. And I'm thinking that it would be quite nice to have that as the veneer on the top and use this as the back. I think by the time we've glued them both together, that should be okay. Now then, I've got 6 in a row machine heads, so I'm going to use this old guitar neck as my template to cut out the veneer and the headstock. Try that. Really strange headstock, isn't it? Right, okay. Let's cut these out. Now I've had a bit of a change of plan. In what I've done, I've run it through the thicknesser. This piece here, get a nice flat sides. I've also run the top of this piece through the thicknesser, but I've left the bottom as it is. And so I think I'm going to be radical here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark up the shape on the top here and try and incorporate that bark there as well, if I can. But I'm going to leave the back as it is because, you know, after all, I want it to look like it came from a tree, quite honestly, just to go in with the sort of natural garden look of this guitar. I'll still take out the middle of that one, but I'm going to cut this piece out, leaving all that nice bark on there. And somehow I've got to work out how to keep that bark on. So if anybody's got any ideas, please leave me in the comments below. Now, this headstock in itself is not going to be thick enough, so I think I'm going to put a layer of featheredge above it, and then this is the veneer on the top. This will be cut much thinner, but I need to have quite a thick headstock there, at least about 15mm, so I can join it to the neck. So that's what I'm going to do now. I think I'm just going to sand this side down. I've already planed that side, so that will be a good top, but I'll sand that down and then cut it to the shape of that headstock. I'm just going to use some 60 grit paper on a block. I glue these two halves together. I'll be honest, I really am winging it with this. I've no idea how I'm going to attach this to the rest of the neck, but I think we'll just glue it up and then see what happens. You may remember this. I stuck it about 5 days ago, and it took, well, it's taken about 5 days to dry fully. It's not very warm these days, and there's obviously quite a bit of moisture in the air, but anyway, it looks like it's dried, so I'm going to be taking this apart in a minute and having a look at it. But before I do that, I just want to alter the shape of this guitar, because I'm not too happy about this little cut in there. I think it's too, it doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right. So what I'm going to do, I want to follow this shape round, and I'm just going to take it down just there, so soften it a bit. I think that looks much better. Look at it from the back, you probably see it clearer, but yeah, I think that looks much better. Okay, so now I'm going to undo this sort of brace that I made. So you may remember that I glued this together using some PVA that I had, and then compressed it in that special sort of jig I made. Now then, What I need to do is first of all tidy up each of the sides of this and get it to the size. Now I'm going to put it on here because I'm actually going to slice this in half that way, all the way down there. So and then use the two parts to join together to form the body of this thing, and it's going to be the outside edge of the body. Now then, right, first mistake that I've noticed, because I can press the whole lot together, I'm a little bit short now on this end, so that's something I'm going to have to think about, but I'm going to do that in a bit. I'm not going to worry about that too much at the moment. So what I need to do is cut this down to size. Now, don't you agree? I think this offcut makes a nice piece of artwork. Anyway, I digress. So now I'm starting to see what the edge of the guitar is going to look like, and wow, it's going to look interesting, isn't it? Look at those different grains there. Obviously that's going to be curved for the shape of the body. So now what I'm going to do is cut this to 20 centimeters wide. Now I apologise if you've seen this before, but I like to set the scale on this bandsaw to be accurate, and in order to do that, what I've done is I've made this metal plate, which is just a strip of aluminium from an old greenhouse, with a slot and a bolt in it there, that allows me to adjust the scale whenever I change the blade, because it's almost impossible to do that with the Axminster system that this thing comes with. So fortunately there's a little recess where the ruler is inset, and this strip of metal will just sit on the top. So it does mean that when I set this to 20, as I'm going to do now, it is set accurately. So I'm going to crack on and saw this through, and I'll catch up with you in a bit. Beautiful. Now then, what have we got to play with? I'm going to have to trim one edge off to get a nice flat edge, because this bows round a bit. You can see there's a bow there, so I'm going to have to first of all level that off. Quite a long way to go before this is absolutely flat, but it's flat enough now for me to be able to cut this in half, or at least slice off what I need to create the sides of the guitar, the edges. The maximum I've got to play with is 90mm, so I could just split that in half and say 45mm. Cut my two slabs, and I've also cut some extra pieces just to block in the end there, because I'm just a little bit short on both sides. So what I've got to do now is just glue these pieces on the end. And that's that one. Okay, right, just screw the end of the clamp on. What I'll do, I'll give this an hour or so just to set, and then I'll do the other one. bit of paper as usual, but yeah, we've got something there. I'm going to fit this headstock at an angle so I don't need any string restraints, and I've got my 8-degree headstock template here, and so it's just a question, I think, of positioning this. So I'm going to cut that on the bandsaw, and I've got this little jig that helps me do that. So let's get that done. I've mask and taped and super glued the jig on the workpiece. So now it's just a question of sliding that through there, getting that lined up on the cut mark there, which is about right there, and yes, away we go. I apologise, I did the old trick there of getting the camera, switching the camera off when I thought it was on and on when I thought it was off. I have to stop doing this. Right, so you missed me sawing it anyway. Here we have it. So I'm just going to smooth this off now with this plane. Got a bit of a knot there, which is going to be a bit awkward. Never mind. That'll have to be cut off just after there, I think. I've super glued the neck to a block of wood so I can hold it in the vise, and I've just got to try and level off that little bit there. I'll try and do it with this small plane to start off with. I think that's probably good enough. If you're going to glue the headstock on in this sort of way, it really pays to have a centre line. Obviously it pays to have a centre line anyway, but also on the back, because, and on both, because when you are trying to line the thing up, you really need something, you need a reference underneath to see as well as the one on the top. So it's worthwhile doing that. I always forget, but I've done it this time, so it's positive. I might need to extend that line though, so I can actually see where it goes. There we go. Now then, I need to work out where the bridge position is going to be, and in actual fact I've got to bring that to there, right to there. You've got a template, use your template. Right, okay. Now then, that's a 24 fret template. We're not going to go 24 frets. We're going to go 22 at least. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to put the nut about there. So let's mark that there. Okay, mark that on this side as well. And that means, whoopsie daisy, I'm about there actually. By the looks of things, that looks about right. Gosh, okay, right. Well, there you go. Wonders never cease. Okay, I just thought before I start gluing it, it might be worth just checking that the these machine heads are going to be in about the right position. There's a hole in here. Okay. That'll stop that moving when I glue it. So I'll snap those off. Use the proper stuff for this. Right. Okie doke. We're in. Just tap that in there. Good. Okay, it's also useful when you're doing this sort of neck fitting to keep the offcuts, because they're really useful when you come to clamp it. You need something with an angle at the back there to assist. Okay, so that's the headstock all glued up. What I want to do now is look at the top of the guitar, see how that's come on. And here it is. You may remember that when I looked at this a few days ago, it actually broke because the glue hadn't set properly, and it looks like it's set now. This is going to be really interesting because I want to get this much thinner and also want to create a slight arching over the top of the guitar. But I've also got to do another one of these, make another one of these for the back of the guitar. Okay, so I'm going to glue all these up again. You've seen me do this once before, so I shall come back to you once I've done it. Well, that was another interesting glue up, but it's all done now, so all I can do now is put this to one side and see what happens. Well, I think that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when all those pieces dry. We'll see if the thing holds together. Anyway, if you like this sort of content, please don't forget to hit subscribe, and please don't forget that this is part of the Use What You've Got challenge 2020, and the links to the other builders in this challenge are in the description below, so please go along and have a look at all their sites, because everyone's having a lot of fun doing this, and well, I'm going to look forward to seeing you soon. Cheers.